Do some beatboxing.
That actually
Yeah,
makes
we
kind of well.
Hey everyone, what's
Hi.
poppin'? We're having another review today. Robbie, would you like to introduce the album we'll be going over today?
Yes. So the album we'll be going over today is American Idiot, Green Day's 7th album, and one of their most popular, their second most popular, right after Dookie. It has 13 tracks on it, and so there'll be 3 of us reviewing it today, Owen, Rahul, and I. So let's go.
Yeah.
Rahul, do you want to start with the first track?
Okay, so American Idiot is one of my. It's like a really good song. Like the guitar and the drums go really good together, and the rhythm of the song is just really good with the lyrics. So I give it a solid 10 out of 10.
Wow, 10 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, it's the title track for the album. I feel like a lot in the song really goes without saying. Not really my style. It's one of the songs that would probably make me not like Green Day all that much if it wasn't just so classic and iconic and really had deep meaning to it. It's definitely not the most musically compelling songs, and it's not close to the kind of alternative rock that I like. But Green Day is really strange though, because it seems like it could be to me a band that seems really basic or copyable, but it's also unique in its songs being like timeless classics. The chord pattern is basic power chords, but however, it still manages to captivate the feel of the song. It does have a nice drum pattern, like Rahul said, that does help to move the song, especially as there's sort of an on and off between the loud and the less loud. The instrumental bridge, almost 2 minutes into the song, is really good, especially seeing as it shows a new way of playing the chords. And the big creative point I see with this song is when either Armstrong's voice or the guitar, it sounds like it's being transmitted through some sort of radio or television or something, almost as if they're distant or being said by some outside source or media, which sort of ties in the meaning of the song. It deeply shows the meaning of the song in it, which is quite clearly about American politics, showing as we're all controlled by some distant media, some voice telling us American idiots what to do through a microphone. And the "Can you hear the sound of hysteria" is probably one of my favorite lines from the song, as the music in the background greatly shows hysteria, and we can definitely hear it. And this is probably what Green Day probably hears when they look at the messed up politics we have. Honestly, I don't like the sound of the song. It's not really my kind of music. Kind of gave me a headache, but however, I won't treat the song too harshly because of how they use this chaotic sound to show a bigger political point. While having a strong meaning itself, the song doesn't immediately show the meaning and story of the album as a whole, but I guess that's shown much more clearly in the next song. I originally gave this song a 6.8, but after re-listening to the album, I don't really think it's the worst of the album, and maybe it just had something to do with my mood at the time. But it really is a nice opening and quite a catchy and powerful song, so I think I'll bump it up to 7.5. How about you, Robbie?
Yeah, those are all great points about it. So it's not my favorite on the album, but it's a great cover song, and I've always really liked the drum work and the guitar, and actually one of the Green Day songs like this actually made me want to learn the drums because I love the drummer. And I think it's a great song, great message, and even after over 10 years, like 16 years later, I think it still holds up. America is idiotic, and we are run by the media, and it's just it's a tough reality, and it's like the red pill from the Matrix. It's like just showing us that it's kind of shitty in America sometimes, and we are idiotic. And so I think I would say the beginning is the best, but I think it carries on with a good melody throughout the whole song. But just the kick of the beginning is the best in my opinion. And so because of all the stuff Owen said, and also you said, Rahul, give it a 9.4.
Yeah, great point, Robbie.
Yeah. Okay, so the second song on the album, which is my personal favorite, is "Jesus of Suburbia." It's the longest song, I believe, on the album. Or no, it's the second longest song on the album. 9 minutes and 8 seconds, which is a real doozy. And it's separated into 5 parts. Okay, Rahul, why don't you start us off?
Well, for me, the song was kind of a little too long, but the guitar and lyrics again were like really good together. Like I don't really like explicit words in songs, which I did not like. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Um, yeah, this song was pretty long. I did feel like it was. I felt like it was sort of necessary to opening the bigger story to the album. Um, it definitely was trying to have some sort of we like rhapsody style to it. Like that's what song is like this long and divided into parts. Kind of makes sense to be like. Um, it has another pretty loud song opening, but I kind of like the more slamming guitar feel in this song to American Idiot's guitar feel. I really like how Green Day seems to have like an on and off with their guitar pattern. Like it's like really loud, heavy, drived guitar, and then it's sort of like more vocal section. The song has 5 parts, so I sort of view it as 5 songs. I did give it 1 rating though, just to be consistent. It is definitely trying to achieve, like I said, that Bohemian Rhapsody epic style. The first part, Jesus of Suburbia, kind of just made me hope that this section didn't go on for the rest of the song because it seemed pretty repetitive. And I didn't realize it was divided into 5 parts. So it was like, okay, if this is like the entire 9 minutes is like this, then this I'm not looking forward to listening to it. But it definitely did end with a nice drum solo. Then the piano comes in, and I definitely prefer the second part, City of the Damned, because while still having that annoying repetitive feel, I feel like Armstrong had a nice vocal melody, and the guitar, piano, and Mike Dirnt's "Hey" in the background, they kind of work well together. I get that the point is that the song is supposed to like parallel the epic stories of the Bible with the suburban middle class view, and it's kind of cool. It sort of feels cheesy to me, like with the graffiti being like holy scriptures. It is a good way for Armstrong to show his childhood growing up in Jingletown, a suburb of Oakland, California. If you didn't know, the motto of 7-Eleven is "Oh, thank heaven," which by saying the motto is just a lie, Armstrong is showing the darkness hidden under the heaven shown by the big corporate companies that suburban societies rely upon. Then the third part, sort of going to the Bohemian style of slower part to more rocking, comes in. It's definitely trying to say 2 things, like the "I don't care" and "I don't care if you don't care." But it's not to stand out to me. But the 5th verse is almost inaudible, which is strange. But if you listen, he's comparing Anaheim, the birthplace of his character, with the Middle East, the birthplace of the biblical character Jesus. And then back to a slower part, which is probably my favorite of the song, and one of my favorite verses of the whole album, actually, not meaning wise, but musically wise. Dearly Beloved definitely has a Mr. Blue Sky feeling to it almost, with a peaceful dinging, but quickly moves over to a bass solo, moving to the next part. The character in Jesus of Suburbia, who the song's based off of, and the entire album is based off of, sounds like he's feeling surrounded by like a hurricane of lies in this part. The last part definitely has a nice piano solo, which brings the song together, and I actually like Armstrong's voice in this part. But of course, then there's more angry guitar near the end, which is typical. Jesus of Suburbia is his character created by Billy Joe Armstrong, and his experiences reflect back on that "don't want to be an American idiot" feel. Even if it doesn't feel like it through the angry guitar and swearing, there's definitely some creative element here. And most of these parts won't be too great on their own, but it altogether makes for a pretty rounded song. However, comparing it to other songs that change tempo and feel like this, however, it has little on great songs like Bohemian Rhapsody or Paranoid Android. So I gave it a 7.8.
all that and gave it a 7.8. Wow. So for Jesus of Suburbia, I actually really love this song, and it's my favorite on the album. I like how it's sort of like Bohemian Rhapsody in that it's separated into the 5 different parts. I like you said, I don't think that all of them hold up together or hold up and are the best, and I don't think they would be very good all separated out. But it forms together and forms a cohesive story. And a good melody. And it does honestly feel like these are 5 different songs. And when I first heard it, I didn't know that it was this whole 9-minute song. I thought it was like 2 or 3 different songs. But I think it's great. And Jesus of Suburbia is a good start to show our first person, but our show our like main character throughout the album. And personally, my 2 favorite parts of this are Dearly Beloved and Tales from Another Broken Home, because they both set the stage for how good it is. And I like the slowness of Dearly Beloved. And but Tales from Another Broken Home is which is the 5th part of it, I like the most because of sort of the meaning behind it, because I guess you could say I come from a broken home because both of my parents are divorced, and I believe that's what broken home mean. And so because of that, I sort of relate to this part of the album. And so this is him like striking out, and I like how, and I really like the guitar in this portion of the song. And so because of like the whole central story and like the different parts and this journey throughout it, I actually gave this my first 10 out of 10 that I've ever given a song. So the next song that we have is Holiday. Rahul, do you want to start?
Yeah, so the guitar was really good, and the song in general was like pretty good. The lyrics and the guitar gave like a nice rhythm to the song. It was kind of like it felt good. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.
All right, yeah. So Holiday, this song, while being more angry rock, is actually probably the most bop-worthy song on the album so far. It has a really nice beat. It's not the kind of songs that I really love or I'm into, but I think it's really well done in its genre for its beat, and I actually like Armstrong's voice in this. The voice echoes work really well, and like I said, it's really easily boppable. The exit to the song fades in perfectly to Boulevard of Broken Dreams, which is why in some versions of the album it works as one song. The guitar solo before the bridge sounds really good. I think the haze are starting to get a bit repetitive though. Obviously, this entire album is very much an anti-war, anti-Bush, anti-authoritarian anthem. Although this song is pretty honestly anti-everyone, poking fun at both left and right politicians, looking into the meaning, and it's a direct response to the American-Iraqi War. The bridge where Armstrong starts with the representative from California has a floor has some very obviously disturbing lyrics that apparently even Armstrong was surprised came out of his mind when he wrote them. It's a sarcastic, angry rant that was meant to sound like something Hitler would say. Just Cause was Armstrong's way of saying how he felt that the Just Cause, which was the name for the U.S. invasion of Panama, and what Bush used for his slogan for the war, was for not a really good idea, in Armstrong's opinion. Obviously, if he said this seriously, that would be extremely disturbing and messed up, but it's meant to be sarcastic and meant to disturb you. It could have definitely been removed and been more radio friendly, but then it would really not have been as edgy as Green Day wanted. The song, other than the bridge, of course, is extremely catchy while being very seriously political. Overall, yeah, it's a song that makes you kind of want to go, whoa, okay, but it's still a great sounding song somehow and quite a headbancer. So I try to not get too political in my scores for the songs, try to just work on what the artist is trying to do and how he does it. But so I gave the song an 8.6. How about you, Robbie?
I really have liked it for a long time, and so I think it's great and always have. So in my notes, I said that the guitar solo is perfect, and I stand by that. I think it's a great guitar solo, and the whole like political message of the end statement of the song is great too. And I really only knew a little bit about it because I was not born at that time, so I didn't. I don't know a ton about what was going on, especially since it was recent, and we don't get taught that in school as much. But from what I do know, and from what you said, Owen, good political statement that is shown off in the words of a song, which that's how it's always been stated throughout different mediums. Is the artist is sharing what they think through these different mediums so that you can understand how they feel. And Holiday is a perfect example to understand how the band and the lead singer, what they feel about what's going on. What you said, Owen, about the part with the representative of California, that's one of my favorite parts of the song, just because of how shocking it is. I think it definitely has that shocking and disturbing factor part of it. And I really like irony and satire. So I think that's a great part of the song and a good addition to it. And the transition to Boulevard of Broken Dreams, perfect. It like slowly fades out at the end of Holiday and comes back in like all at the same point into Boulevard of Broken Dreams. My score for Holiday is a 9.5.
Okay, so the Boulevard of Broken Dreams is like one of my favorite of the entire thing. It's like a classic hit, and the guitar and lyrics fit really good together. It kind of expresses how like he's walking, like all his dreams are kind of broken, which he can like fix during time. So I gave it a solid 10 out of 10.
All right. Yeah. So the song fades perfectly from the last song. And while the last song was bop, this song is just overall beautiful. It's always been one of my favorite Green Day songs. It's one of those songs that I remember hearing it for the first time. I was waiting for school or something, and I was checking out some other alternative rock things. And this is a song that I vaguely remember hearing somewhere, but I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I had no idea. Is a few songs in this album that I'd heard before. I had no idea they were Green Day songs, but this is definitely one of the songs on the album that is definitely in some of my top songs to listen to. But it starts with a warbled, distorted guitar opening, then has some very nice acoustic chords, then a great drum beat, all of which is blended together very well. In the whole Jesus of Suburbia plotline, it's meant to be a song meant to like feel alone, yet full of music after that whole political thing. And it slowly builds into action. The lyrics do seem kind of basic, and in my opinion, it could have more, I don't know, like I don't know how to say this, but more like smart sounding lyrics. Like the meaning is there, but it could have been written better. There's beautiful lead guitar, quiet riffs, and you can even catch some piano. It has that same feeling to Holiday as the ending of the song Karma Police, like the For a Minute There I Lost Myself from OK Computer, does to the rest of the song. There's like extreme politics and opinion and this whole hangover feeling of regret and loneliness. I do really like the whole vibe of this song, though, and all the opposing sounds. It's probably one of my favorite Green Day songs, like I said. It's intense while still being interesting. The wavy guitar works very well with Armstrong's voice. I originally gave it a 9.25, but after thinking about it, I think I'm going to bump that up to a 9.5.
So Boulevard of Broken Dreams, I've known it for a very long time. Probably I'd say it was the first Green Day song I listened to, just because it's one of their like most popular, and like a lot of people know Boulevard of Broken Dreams. I think it's good. It serves well for the story of the album too. A sort of like edgy, depressed sort of song, and that's what it's supposed to mean in like the context of the album. I think it's good. The sort of slow down, but still having that like rock and guitar vibe from Holiday is great. Like everybody said, fantastic transition, probably the best in the album. And I'd say my favorite part is the sort of end, the end of the song with the guitar there, and the whole melody. I do think the lyrics are repetitive, so I don't like listening to it too much. But I think I think if you go without listening to it for a long time, or it's your first couple listens, it's going to be great, no matter when you hear it. It's just got that little tinge of repetitiveness, but I still give it a 9.2, just because it's both something that I've listened to since I was a kid, and just a good song all around. The fifth song is "Are We Waiting?" So Rahul, would you like to talk about that first?
Yep. So the drum intro and the drums in general were like really good. It gave like a essence to the song, and it was like a kind of like a slow tempo and rhythm, and the guitar gives that kind of like that slow kind of vibe to it. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So Are We the Waiting? It's definitely meant to be an anthem song, like one the crowd would sing at concerts. It does a pretty okay job at that. The echoing drums work good, and there's a nice guiar arpeggio, which I do prefer when Green Day does something other than the 4 power chords used in most of their songs. It is said to be a soliloquy for the character of Jesus of Suburbia, something that he just says out loud to himself. But I don't think it's that captivating as I feel anthem songs like this should be. It does call back to the theme of rage and love shown in Jesus of Suburbia, which is a nice touch. Overall, I'd give it an 8.2.
So I actually love the slowdown. Like normally I don't like slower songs, but for Green Day, this is a great like slow, quote unquote, slower song. I think it's got a good message. The lyrics are slightly repetitive, and like especially in the chorus. But I think the drum work is fantastic. And again, as not as much as like the other songs, it's a good like anthem, like you said, Owen. And it doesn't show the message as much in the other songs. I think it's still a good show for the album. And even though it's like a slower song, and I don't really like those as much, and it's sort of different from the songs on the album, I think it's still a good transition from like the fast first part of the album into like a sort of a more mellow Boulevard of Broken Dreams into this like slow anthem for Are We Waiting? And because of that, I give it an 8.7. Just it's a pretty good song. Not the best, obviously, compared to like some of the other ones, but still good. Sixth song on the album is Saint Jimmy, which is paired together with Are We Waiting? Rahul, you can go for that.
It kind of has like a fast tempo to it, which I really like. And the guitar is the main part, and I think Green Day executed it really well. And the drums give like a beat to the music. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So when you begin to listen to this song, you're hit with an immediate great transition from the last song. An extremely fast rhythm guitar. I really did like the first 20 seconds. But 20 seconds in, I kind of felt like it really just transformed to a really stereotypical rock song. Like the guitar rhythm and the sound with the loud lyrics, which I suppose can be a nice vibe, as it did work pretty well on American Idiot, but it's hard to be musically compelling, and it's really hard to get the lyrics in this song. But people who do like that type of song, I can see why they would like this song. But I do feel like for being a song that I said was a stereotypical rock song, it does have some nice chords used around the minute mark. 2 minutes in, the guitar turns into more of a solo, which is nice. I don't love it as a song, but its meaning is interesting. As you may know, the album follows the life of the character Jesus of Suburbia. Saint Jimmy is his more street-hardened, city life alter ego. Saint Jimmy is a character who's drug addicted and suicidal, And by mentioning ramen, Armstrong may be poking fun at college students in financial troubles that live off of ramen. I don't have too much to say. Like I said, it was kind of hard to understand the meaning, but I gave it a 7.24.
So actually, I think this is the weakest song on the album, personally, just because I think it's slowed down like so much in these different stages, and then St. Jimmy it's like a kick in the face, in my opinion, from this like Are We Waiting like slow anthem to this super fast hard thing. And because of that, I don't really like it very much. I also think the lyrics are kind of dumb. I mean, I haven't listened to them extremely closely. I just don't think they're very interesting. It sets up St. Jimmy as a character great, and I think that's why I think I didn't give it such a bad score. But I just don't really like it very much. I'm not a big fan of the beat either, or the melody. I think the middle is good, but the end is the worst part. Just because of how it sort of plays out. And I don't think it's a good pairing for Are We Waiting. I think it would fit better somewhere else. But in the context of the album and the story, it fits well and sets up St. Jimmy as a great character. Now for the seventh song on the album, which is Give Me Novacaine.
I kind of like how it transitions into like a slow, fast tempo throughout the song, and the variations in different kinds of guitar. Like in the fast parts, it's like heavy, and then the slow parts, it's kind of like light guitar, which I really like because it kind of makes it different from other songs. So I give this a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, like Rahul said, it opens with a very nice slow beat. Has some good acoustics. Quickly goes into high gain electric guitars. The acoustics and synths sort of remind me of some stereotypical tropical music. I kind of see it supposed to feel like a bittersweet paradise, which makes sense, seeing as it's clearly about using drugs. This and the last song definitely show the highs and lows of the life of a drug user. It is kind of basic and repetitive, but it sounds all right. The voice melodies that Armstrong uses are pretty good, but the song isn't too standoutish, so I gave it an 8.1.
So for being a song obviously about drugs, I still think it's a good song. For me, honestly, it sounded like a love song a little bit, even though I know it's not. It just sort of had that feel for me. It still continues to show us who the character St. Jimmy is too, which is good and gives a feel of the main character, the Jesus of Suburbia, and just how life is with like what you said, Owen, the life of a drug user, or even like the main story, somebody casting out away from their parents. And I think it moves in well to She's a Rebel too, because of the two different like stories, or the story, maybe not the how the melody and the transition, but I think the story goes in well. And I just think it sounds like a good song too. Like I'd listen to it, and I just listen to it just for fun because it just sounds cool. I give it the same score as Rahul for a 9 out of 10. So next song, which is number 8, She's a Rebel. Take it away.
So it has kind of like a rebellious theme because they're showing like she's going against the law, kind of like that. And the lyrics make sense, and it's a nice song to listen to. Plus the guitar is good with like really heavy kind of rebellious theme that I talked about. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Cool. Yeah, it's very short and fast. And the only well done part I would say is the bridge. Yet I do prefer this song's angry guitar sound to St. Jimmy's. Otherwise, the song isn't amazingly powerful, but I did like it a lot more second listen because if you look at its background, it's about a girlfriend of Armstrong's who is a powerful feminist and what he learned from her. It also ties into What's Her Name being about the supposed love interest of the character in the album, Jesus of Suburbia. But not too standoutish. I gave it an 8.0.
It's not my favorite. Yeah, it shows off how like it shows off the rebellious nature of the main girl, what's her name, in this song, and sets up her as like the main love interest for Jesus of Suburbia. But it's again not my favorite. Another one like Saint Jimmy, where it's a little bit too fast and just not my favorite, like lyrically wise. And so because of that, I give it an 8.3. And then so for our ninth song on the album, Extraordinary Girl, Rahul, you can go.
Okay, so I really like the beginning of the song, which was like really different in drums, kind of like a variation instrument, which I really liked. And it kind of transitioned from that weird instruments to like a normal kind of rock style, which I thought was pretty okay. And the guitar was good with the lyrics. It kind of fitted together, so I give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh yeah. So the song starts out with some, like Rahul said, some tropical sounding drums, more another tropical theme, strangely enough. And you can slowly hear a guitar fade in until you hit with a solo, a musical touch. I think is done actually really well. I love the voice melody of the song. It's one of the few from this album I just love listening to. The guitar sounds exotic, and the song has a perfect balance of drive and calm. It's a shorter song, but it's definitely done well, and it's probably the only one that I would definitely call underrated in the album, because the other songs I like are songs, Green Day songs that everyone likes. But this song, I've never heard it before, and it's actually, I do like it. It's one of my favorite on the album. The song goes into the romantic interests of Jesus of Suburbia. It shows a feeling of what's known as an identity crush of his, both shown in She's a Rebel and this song. However, I felt it was shown a lot better in this song, and I gave it a 9.25. How about you, Robbie?
So the first couple times I listened to it, I didn't like it too much, but I do think the story's good, and I like the sort of slowed down style. It's definitely not as slow as Are We Waiting, but it's not this fast, like rock sort of thing, as some of the other songs on the album are. I think the guitar in this is good for the main like riff, I think it is. Sounds good and really different than some of the other songs. I definitely need to listen to it a little bit more, like by itself, without Letterbomb, to be able to sort of really soak up all of it. But I think it shows the relationship great, and it's a pretty good song all around. Definitely not one of like the best, but I give it like a solid B, honestly, an 8. It's just good. It flows great into Letterbomb, which I would say is the more superior song out of the two. Rahul, you can go for that.
Okay, so the beginning of the song was kind of different and kind of weird, but then the guitars and the lyrics went really good together. I like how like in the end he refers back to his other songs like American Idiot and Jesus of Suburbia at the end of the song to show that connection to the rest of the album. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, so I disagree with Robbie saying that this is the stronger track out of this song and Extraordinary Girl. But I do feel like the female singer chanting, supposed to be the character of What's-Her-Name, her chanting in the beginning, which leads into a nice guitar opening, works well. The song's a pretty good bop, and I feel like it has a similar vibe to American Idiot, yet having its own melody and voice rhythm, which work well. I really love hearing the cross-song references in this song, connecting American Idiot, What's Her Name, Jesus of Suburbia, all to create a well-written song. And since it's done in other songs, really connects it to make it a well-written album. It connects Jesus of Suburbia's guilt with What's Her Name's rage, and definitely has feeling in it. The song does it. The song goes pretty fast. It's a good pump up angry song though, and I'd say it's pretty good. Not extraordinary, but I give it an 8.6.
So for me, Letterbomb, I'd say it's a good song. I do think it's better than Extraordinary Girl, but I do see how they flow well together and how you could think that it's Extraordinary Girl is better. I really like the chorus and even the message. The message is great, and it's cool because I believe this song is this song is a letter. In the story, I think it's a letter to the Jesus of Suburbia, talking about their relationship and how it's sort of like volatile and this harsh thing between them, and it shows off what it is. With if I got the line correctly, I didn't write it down, but it's like Saint Jimmy is like a figment of your father's rage and your mother's something. I can't exactly remember what it is, but it's a great line, and it shows, if you didn't already like know, is like Saint Jimmy and the Jesus of Suburbia. They're like the same person, even though in Are We Waiting, I believe it is, he says that Saint Jimmy is a lie, I think. Or no, it's later in the song that he says Saint Jimmy is a lie, or later in the album. But or the Jesus of Suburbia is a lie, I should say. And so I think Letterbomb comes together to show sort of like their relationship really well, and is a great song for showing the central story of the album, and transitions fairly well into Wake Me Up When September Ends. But my favorite part of the whole song is really the chorus, and really enjoy the main riff of it. By itself, I would listen to Letterbomb a lot more than Extraordinary Girl, but I do recognize they're both great songs, and I give Letterbomb 9. And then so Wake Me Up When September Ends, which is the 11th song on the album. Rahul, you can go.
So what I thought of this song, it's really good. It has like a slow vibe, feel good song. And the guitar and singing is executed very well. It goes back to like what the track of the album is, American Idiot, because it shows politics and war, kind of like when these two characters are in love with each other and then he goes to war for any sacrifices of life for America. It shows like how the political time at that time when this album was released. So I'm giving it a solid 10 out of 10.
Wow. Yeah. So this song is definitely a song that is more my style. It's timeless classic, a beautiful, heart-moving song. Has a nice guitar arpeggio, and still it's a nice rocking Green Day touch to it near the end, which actually sounds amazing in the song. The melody is the same throughout the song. It is quite a simple song, but it's just one of those songs that are simple yet beautiful and just a pleasure to listen to. Lyrics are repeated yet poetic. I like how it says, drenched in my pain again, becoming who we are, which is him saying how we show our true selves in our most painful moments. The title comes from something Armstrong said to his mother after his father died, after his funeral. And the entire song is sort of based around the story. The song is such a powerful song, but what I thought was its one weakness is the fact that, unlike every other song in this album, I can't really connect it to the Jesus of Suburbia story, which makes me feel as it was just thrown in there. Although without the song, I probably wouldn't like the album as much, because this is a song I personally like a lot more than all the other songs on the album. It seems as if it would be super easy to fit in the story, though, so I don't see why it wasn't. But I feel like I'm probably missing something. Rahul did bring up a very good point about how it's connected to the American Idiot and the war, which I do feel kind of connects to a different side story in the song. And maybe it just had some connection to Jesus of Suburbia I missed. But I'm glad Rahul brought that up. It is a beautiful song, like I said, and a good way to show Armstrong's personal connection to the album. And it's quite possibly my favorite Green Day song of all time, so I gave it a 9.9.
So, Wake Me Up When September Ends is a fantastic and beautiful song about like his father's death. And it's really sad. I can't remember the exact line, but it was like something similar or something akin to like 10 years before or 7 years, I believe. Either 7 or 10 years before he started the band, his dad died, and like 7 years or 10 years since then, he made this song, and it sort of forms together well, and is just a sad song overall about his father's death. And what you said about fitting into the story, I agree with you, Rahul. But I think what somebody had said about it, where I read, is that it's just supposed to be the main character mourning the loss. What's her name? In context of the story, but for that, it doesn't fit amazingly well in with the story. But it's just a good, no matter what it is, either mourning the loss of his father or the loss of what's her name in the story. It's a good song about grief, and I think in context of the story, it transitions well into Homecoming. But it does, I would say, have a fairly good transition into Homecoming. Because of that, and because of how great it is, I give it a 9.2. But I definitely think that I would up it, maybe to like a 9.4. But I'm not entirely sure because it's not my sort of style, but the context and the meaning behind it is there throughout the whole song, and you can really feel it. Homecoming, the 12th song on the track.
Okay, so Homecoming was it's pretty long, so it was probably a little too long for me. But the variations in guitar had a little different kick to it. Like it was like heavy and then slow, kind of like how it was in the other song. So I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's another 9-minute song. It's another long opera-style rhapsody. The opening is good. It had the same distant radio feel that American Idiot does. The guitar rhythm afterward has a decent vibe to it. The first part is called the Death of Saint Jimmy. The meaning is that Jesus of Suburbia's girlfriend left him. It feels like a year, which now, actually looking at it now, it kind of, that is some sort of connection to Wake Me Up When September Ends. I still sort of feel that was just something that Armstrong is like, wait, no, let me put in the song I wrote about my loss of my father in here. And enough on that song, though. It does, the meaning is like it feels like a year since Jesus of Suburbia's girlfriend left him. It is a conversation between Jesus of Suburbia and his alter ego, Saint Jimmy. He's kind of having an identity crisis here, yet I feel like it's hard to get that unless you really look at the lyrics. According to the song, Saint Jimmy materialized and somehow magically split from Jesus of Suburbia. Jesus of Suburbia killed him when he was materialized. He kind of refers to it as a suicide because he killed a part of himself. The second part of the song, East 12th Street, is not that musically pleasing in my opinion, and the vocal melody that comes in the third verse almost feels cheesy and a weird transition. It's about how Jesus of Suburbia is trying to have a normal life after what happened with What's-Her-Name. And while I didn't like the sound of it that much, the cheery verse did show that well. The bridge and interlude are repetitive, but do show his anxious, trapped feeling, and it does get good near the end of the interlude. The third part, Nobody Likes You, not only has a title that calls back to the opening of Letterbomb, but it is completely based off that section, which was something that What's-Her-Name said to Jesus of Suburbia. It's a shouted verse that shows his regret for leaving home. Probably why the song is called Homecoming. The chorus with Mike Dirnt does have that nice movie climax feeling to it. And it transitions well with the drum solo to Rock and Roll Girlfriend, the next part of the song, which does sort of sound cheesy again, but it is interesting that they brought the drummer, Trey Cool, to sing it. It's a contrast to how good the character Tunney's life is, who's played by Trey Cool. It's even mixed in with some jazzy sax to show that. And if you listen closely, you can even hear Billy sing, "Don't Want to Be an American Idiot." I really like that. It's a nice, not just a nice callback, sort of an echo from Jesus of Suburbia's past, where he wanted to be a rebel and make a change. He is kind of telling Jesus of Suburbia to stop whining about his life, and the lyrics are supposed to be like read from a postcard. The fifth part, "We're Coming Home Again," is the one that most feels like it could be its own song with its beat and vibe. I do like the feel of this part and how it fades out to a slow drum beat, which sounds almost identical to the one in Are We the Waiting. It reminds me of so many songs, and I can't even seem to place which ones that reminds me of. At the end, there's another call back to the opening of Letterbomb. This anthemy section is a nice wrap up to the album, but wait, there's one more song, and I gave Homecoming a 7.1.
Nice. I think it's a pretty great song, and definitely one of my favorites on the album. And when I first listened to it, I thought it was hard to like rate, but the more I listened to it, the more I thought it was actually great because of how cool it is, and like again the different parts. I don't know if they're separated completely. It's in good parts, but my favorite is the like the rock and roll part where I don't know who's singing that, but it's like it starts off so well and is an interesting contrast from like the first like slower part of the song into like this kick in the face, almost like Saint Jimmy, and around like the 5-minute part of the song, and then into like the slower melodic part of the end of the song, into like a good like that chant at the end of the song, where like into like a chant at the end of the song, and then and it's like a good transition into What's-Her-Name. But I definitely think that this song is really long, and I don't have as much of a connection with this song as I did with Jesus of Suburbia, which is very similar in length. But I do think this song it makes good use of it being so long, just like Jesus of Suburbia. And while I wouldn't say it's better, I definitely think Jesus of Suburbia is better. I think it's a good almost end of the album, and it comes together for the main story, where the main character is like finally leaving the city and coming back home, and that's why it's like this great sort of end of the song, moving into What's-Her-Name, which is the end of the album, which I think is another fantastic song. Overall, I give Homecoming a 9 out of 10. I might have given it a bigger rating or a greater rating, like a 9.2 or something, but I still think it's a fantastic song and deserving of like an A rating. And so the last song on the track, or the last song on the album, number 13, What's-Her-Name? Rahul, you can start.
So, What's-Her-Name is a pretty good song, and it has good variations on guitar. So the story behind it is like Jesus of Suburban is like he wants to forget what's her name. So the lyric says, "I made a point to burn all the photographs," which means he just wants to forget about her. And then another lyric is, "She went away and I took a different path." So that means they both just went different paths and never saw each other again. So that was what the story kind of meant to me in this song. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, this song, like Rule said, it's another callback to What's-Her-Name. It's a final attempt for Jesus of Suburbia to remember her before the end of the album. Because of all the songs that are about What's-Her-Name, I kind of feel like the entire album arc is not just Jesus of Suburbia's experiences, but his sort of love experiences. I feel like half the songs in the album are sort of based off of What's-Her-Name and how Jesus of Suburbia is feeling about her. But anyway, about the sound of the song, the opening drums, I swear it has the exact same drum pattern to the song Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. I just heard that and I was like, that sounds super familiar. And that's until the guitar comes in. I like the sound in the opening. And while I feel like Armstrong doesn't exactly have the voice for it, it does have a good sad feeling to it. He thinks she got settled down and married to a character named What's-His-Face. And the fact that What's-Her-Name is well known as only What's-Her-Name shows how he doesn't remember much about the details of what happened, looking back at it, and only how it shaped him. The bridge showing drug-disordered memories of What's-Her-Name is another nice touch. Eventually comes to the conclusion that he'll forget her, but not the experiences he's learned, which is a good way to wrap up any love story that doesn't work out like that. The song is pretty decent, in my opinion. Wraps up the album well. I gave it an 8.3.
I think What's-Her-Name is one of like the best songs on the album, in my opinion, just because of how good it is. And when I first heard it, like I hadn't heard the song before listening to this album, but as soon as I heard it, I thought it was great. And even though it's not supposed, or I don't think it's supposed to be a super sad song, it feels super sad to me. And is I would say it's bittersweet, but it's way more bitter than it is sweet. And it sort of shows a sort of secondary theme to the album, in my opinion, and that's about growing up. And I think because the Jesus of Suburbia and What's-Her-Name, they both go separate ways, I think it shows growing up perfectly, because you'll meet plenty of people throughout your life. Because you have two different paths sometimes, you'll be going two separate ways. And I think it's a great reminiscence from the main character to this. I think it's I don't think it takes place like right after Homecoming. I think it takes place maybe like 5 years, 10 years down the line, when Jimmy, the main character, because he's not the Jesus of Suburbia and he's not Saint Jimmy, he's just Jimmy. I think Jimmy is looking back on his time when he was like this rebel going away from his family and his life. He's looking back and he's thinking, what's her name? I can't remember. And I think that's shown great when he says, didn't what's her name like marry what's his face? And I think that shows it well. It's like an adult or something thinking back to high school and thinking about how their friends or some of the people they used to know, what they're doing in life. Even though they don't talk to them or even remember what their name is, they only remember a face, not a name. And I think that's why this song, even though it shows the relationship between the main characters still, it still shows to a lot of people, especially like adults who might listen to this song, it's a good, like how they might remember their childhood. And that's why it shows growing up so perfectly. And because of that, I give it a 9.5 out of 10, which is one of the best songs. And that's about it. I just think it's a great song. Rahul, you can go now for saying your final thoughts.
Okay, so my final thoughts on this is this album, American Idiot, shows how America's politics is really messed up. And it also shows how Jesus of Suburbia and What's-Her-Name, they're kind of like love life throughout the entire thing, how some things don't work out over the years. So I thought overall everything was really good in this. So my overall score for this was 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Nice. So going back on what Robbie said about the song, What's Her Name? I kind of just got the meaning of the album to be that a lot of people that you meet in your life, they may be what's her names, but what's more important is how they shape you and what person you are because of them. And while the album isn't one of my favorites, it's not one I enjoy listening to all that much throughout. It does have some really good songs, like Wake Me Up When September Ends, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and Extraordinary Girl. In my opinion, those are some of the best. It tells a great story. It has a unique trait of being a musical opera, um, in my opinion, and has some catchy songs while doing it. But I do feel like a major weakness is the inconsistency of the routes. Like, it opens off obviously with some very political heavy songs like Holiday and American Idiot, but I don't feel like the political message is as clear throughout the entire message, and it just, seeing as it just focuses on the story of Jesus of Suburbia, and I feel like the two routes could have been implemented together better, instead of, it seems like one was opened off the album and opened off the other story, but then kind of it got lost somewhere in between. However, I do feel like even if the two routes weren't implemented as well together, they were two very well written routes to take. Um, Connecting in someone's own life and experiences with the frustration of modern politics. Um, I do feel like another weakness that I saw was that I do feel like there are some songs that fell out of place, or they could have been done better, like St. Jimmy or Homecoming, or even my favorite song on the album, Wake Me Up When September Ends, which, like I was saying, it sounds more separate from the album. Um, it doesn't sound like it was really meant to be in the album. Like I said, I thought it's a great song, and it's great that Armstrong's connecting back on his losses. But at first listen, you're like, wait, is this even about the Jesus of Suburbia story? Felt like it could have been implemented a little bit better, but I do feel like Rahul did bring up a really good point of how it was supposed to be implemented, and it sort of goes back on the other more political story of American politics. They aren't all great songs, but the album as a whole is really interesting, and it was enjoyable to listen and learn the story of. And I do feel like the songs that didn't sound that great, in my opinion, still have the best way, they still portrayed their message the best way that they could. This punk album is one that's a good experience to listen to, shows the rage and love that comes with a rough lifestyle, and works as a musical without even sounding like one. Overall, my score is average at a score of 8.3, but I think I'd give it a score of maybe 8.5 because of how it works as an album. I'd probably give it higher if it implemented its, like I said, the two routes better, but I think it does work pretty good as it is.
I honestly love this album. I think it's great. Not my favorite of all time, obviously, but I think it works very well together, and especially the story. Like, for some of the other songs on the album, I had no idea what the full story was. But now that I've like listened to it and read what it is, I now like fully know what the story is, and I think all of these songs work great together, cohesively, to form this cohesive story. And obviously, some songs are better than others, but together they form a great story. And I know I just said that multiple times, but that's okay. But so the story, it comes together great. Through each of the songs, we get shown the different main characters and how they work together in their life, and also how much of this album is like this political statement. And even though it was written 16 years ago, I think it still holds up great to the modern time, which is not very great. It's sort of disappointing how even after so many people went to the struggle to show their political opinions, we still have so much dumb stuff that happens in America today. And that's why we need to remember albums like this and political statements like this, so that we could actually like change stuff in our country. And us listening to this now, I think, is it's a good point to listen to it because of what's been going on in our country. And I think we now have like a better understanding of how life was 16, 20 years ago compared to the life like we live today. since we weren't born, or we weren't like old enough, or even born yet back then, we now have this good understanding, and we can compare life then to life now. And because of the great songs on this album and also the message, I give the album a 9.4 at first, but I think I would bump it up to a 9.6 or maybe a 9.7 because of how good it is. Definitely an A or an A plus. I'd say, because nobody else has any lasting thoughts or anything, that this is where we'll wrap up the album. You can see all of our individual scores for the songs in the description, as well as timestamps that Owen will give. Yeah,
I'm not like
here. Owen, you can go.
Yeah, so I'm not really entirely sure if this is right because some of the scores are a bit adjusted, but I think we average out 9.3, which is probably one of the best albums that we've, one of the highest ranked albums that we've done so far. So it's pretty cool. It was great listening to this album with you guys. Our next album, I think that was Neef suggested it. We are going to do "Welcome to the Black Parade" by Panic at the Disco. That should be fun to listen to.
That's not
completely wrong. That is completely wrong.
Okay, you can cut that out and just repeat everything that I just said. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Wait, what are we listening to then?
Death of a Bachelor.
Okay, Death of a Bachelor. Okay.
Oh, I was mixing up the album with the
because that's an MCR album.
I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry.
Death of a Bachelor by Panic at the Disco is going to be the next album we'll be reviewing.
I'd like
after
to say a few words.
Yeah, and then Milan, you can say a few
I'm
words.
Here now. I was there the whole time. I was just listening in because I didn't have the time to formulate a review on this thing, so I wasn't participating. That is because I've been working on solo video that should be here mid-July at the latest, which is gonna cover some of my favorite albums, some of the favorite music that I've been listening to over the course of the year so far. So look forward to that. It should be here like mid-July at the latest. Probably before then. But just look forward to that. Also, at the time of recording of this video, we will be recording very first installment of our debate night series. I think that's what we're going to call it. I think we're just going to go with that. We were talking about changing it for a while, but I think we'll just go with that title. So yeah, I can't assure you it'll come out 2 days after this video goes up, but look forward to that soon. Basically, we asked some of you guys your unpopular music-related opinions, and we will be responding to them, giving our thoughts on them, rating your opinions out of 5 in that video. So, very excited for that. Hope you guys are too. Those are the things to come.
Yep. Okay, boys, say bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.